Hi, I'm Charlie, and I'm going to show you a digitized collection of the Cornell Hip Hop Collection. I found the collection by browsing the Cornell University Library digital collections and searching for collections related to music. The first one that came up was The Archive of Joe Conzo Jr., a photographer who captured images of the South Bronx between 1978 and 83. Following the link, I found an appealing, well-laid-out page with an introduction to the site, links to view the collection, and at the bottom of the page, for context, links to information about the photographer, a New York Times article about him, a link to his own website, which features this great picture of him as a teenager at the time that he was taking a lot of these pictures, and also an informative YouTube video about him in later years. This collection is but one archive within the larger Cornell Hip Hop Collection, or CHHC, which is a research archive of original artifacts, images, and sound recordings documenting the birth and spread of hip hop culture. Its mission is to collect and make accessible the historical documents of hip hop culture and to ensure their preservation for current and future generations. It preserves more than 250,000 items in various formats and across dozens of individual archives. The digital archives, seen here, are the online, public-facing, web-accessible, digitized portions of the CHHC. This whole collection, in turn, is part of the larger Division of Rare and Manuscript Collections, or the RMC, which includes more than 500,000 printed volumes, 80 million manuscripts, and 1 million visual media objects. This wider collection goes all the way back to the founding of the university. Many collections have been added over the years, including one that contains a copy of the Gettysburg Address in Lincoln's handwriting. But how did we get from Lincoln to hip-hop? Well, since the early 2000s, Catherine Reagan, Assistant Director for Collections and Curator of Rare Books and Manuscripts, had wanted to improve documentation available in research libraries about popular music and musical genres and cultures post-1960s, believing it was an important topic and was generally underdocumented in archives, which tended to privilege the papers of literary writers like novelists or poets. Meanwhile, New York City-based collector, curator, and author Johann Kugelberg, seen here, had been collecting materials relating to both hip-hop and punk and was looking for a cultural institution to house his huge collection. He had already hooked up with Joe Conzo Jr. and also hip-hop pioneer Afrika Bambaataa, but the places he approached either turned him down or would only take the collection if he would pay for the archiving. Catherine Reagan, on the other hand, was thrilled by the opportunity of moving Johann's hip-hop and punk collections to Cornell. She believed that documenting hip-hop was incredibly important given its impact on world culture. What about funding? According to Catherine, the RMC collection is built through gifts and purchases, with funding for acquisitions coming from endowments given to Cornell specifically to grow the collections of rare research materials. And the collection also seeks funding from grants and gifts to enable the ongoing work of cataloging, describing, preserving, and making collections available to the public. Going back to the Joe Conzo Jr. archive, if we scroll down and view to click the collection, we arrive at a clean, well-organized page which is easy to navigate and search and user-friendly. We can search through this collection, limiting our search by various parameters, including work type and subject, and there are hundreds of subjects to search by. If we click on the first record on the page, if we click on any record or thumbnail in the page, we're taken to a page with a large instance of the image, and below it, meticulously thorough metadata, which includes the name and address here of the club where this picture was taken, and the names of the performers who appear in the photograph, Cold Crush Brothers. Just to demonstrate the richness of metadata available on this site, Here's a record of another photograph of the same group, striking here a classic early hip-hop pose. In the description, they mentioned that the people who were sitting in the DJ booth in the background include Biz Markie, who went on to be a very successful rapper. They say he's second from the right in the back, and there he is. So that just gives an example of how much data is available on some of these records. Now, the records also have a link to view the finding aid if you're interested. And if we do that, we get what looks like a typical archival finding aid, which includes a descriptive summary, biographical note about Joe Conzo Jr., collection description, and a container list of the extensive boxes of material that comprise this collection. And of course, if you wanted to see more of this archive, you could go in person to Cornell and view the actual objects in person. There's also a link on the pages to view the collection in Artster, which is an aggregate digital library that connects 300 collections. And I had originally thought of presenting on the Cornell Punk Flyers collection, but I found the site not so user-friendly, difficult to search, found the metadata skimpy, and the quality of the images not as great or easy to work with. When I asked Catherine Regan about the difference between these, she told me that the metadata present for different digital collections varies based on the amount of funding we have for the work. Digital representations of the Joe Conzo collection and the collection of early hip-hop flyers were generously funded with one-time grant money. So the metadata for those collections is unusually rich. Not all projects offer equal amounts of funding for metadata, unfortunately, which is more expensive than the scanning. I feel that the CHHC, in creating these online digital collections, is doing an admirable job of meeting their objective of making hip-hop's history widely and freely available to the public by digitizing and creating rich metadata for portions of its archives. Thank you for watching. In closing, here is Johan Kugelberg talking about cataloging Africa Bambaata's record collection. See ya.
The reason that this room is important is that this is the DJ metadata of how hip-hop culture unfolded. But it is also the actual metadata of the music. Because if you hit Spotify or iTunes or whatever it is, you won't get this much information about what is on an actual record.